Hey guys, how's it going? Out yard sale, and there's one up the road I haven't hit yet. But on the way there was this on the side of the road for free. Looks fairly modern. Doesn't look like it has much use on it, but is definitely taken apart. Somebody had a rough time, looks like, trying to either get it to run or operate or whatever its issues are. I don't know if it's blown up, but again, the price is right. So I think we throw it in the truck, we'll bring it home, put it on the bench, either find out what happened to it or see if we can resurrect it and let it live once more. So it's actually a couple months later. This was sitting over in the corner, but the threat of winter is now upon us. So I figured it'd be a good time to start figuring out if we could save this machine, or at least figure out what happened to it. So I literally took it out of the truck, parked it in the corner, and know nothing more about it than what you guys saw when it was on the side of the road. It doesn't look like it had very much use to it. I see no rust on the outside of it at all. It's really clean. Even on the inside, the cutting edge got a little bit of a roll over to it. I don't know if that shows or not. So it has had some use to it. I wouldn't think, it's not really an expensive one. It's more of the lower end of snowblowers. The reason why I say it, it's got no electric start. It's the smaller wheel, smaller cut, smaller engine. It's running a plastic impeller instead of a metal one. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I wouldn't think so. So we got that. The guts are sitting on the bench behind me that came with it. This was removed from it. Plug's still in it. My guess, and this is just a guess, and you're welcome to do the same, is that it probably sat over a course of a winter and they went to go fire it up and it didn't run again. That's just my guess. Let's see if we got any fuel in it. Yeah, it's got gas in it. Doesn't smell terrible, but they may have dumped old gas on top of new. It's got oil in it. Clean too. It'd be nice if it was just a dirty car, but maybe not. So let me set up in a stand. We'll start getting into it, see what we can find, and hopefully we can bring it back to life. So that gas cap back on. It's kind of odd that they had the chute part removed too, though. So maybe it was having a problem throwing snow. Let's give her a couple of yanks and see if nothing feels weird. It's got compression. Let's go pop off the belt cover. See, one screw's already missing. Is it just sitting there? No. Let's go pop that belt cover off. What do you got on this side? Gotta be some more hardware on it somewhere. Actually, I think there's a little tab you just push in. There we go. Maybe I'll put you down. Yeah, it's got a tab on this side too. There we go. Well, the belts are still on it. I don't see anything funky with that. So we should have a lever. That's for the auger. And then for the drive, will be down inside here. I don't know what it uses for a drive. It might be generally a snowblower uses a disc that has two different surfaces they ride on. It's kind of like an automatic transmission or a CVT transmission. All that looks pretty good though. I don't see anything funky down inside there. And it's kind of weird that, you know, that part was removed. All right, let's get the plug out of it and we'll see if it's got any spark. Here's the goodies that were sitting on the bag over there. It's just a bunch of hardware. Got a shear pin? No. Yeah, I don't see anything broke. What about the little retaining bracket that holds everything? That looks okay too. One thing I noticed, it doesn't have a belly pan. Belly pan's what goes underneath it. And it keeps the snow from packing up inside where the clutch is. Whether it's missing altogether or, again, it seems like a cheap machine. I wonder if they just kind of omitted it. It's kind of oily. Name of the game is, does it have spark? I do not. I figure out whether there's a kill on this thing too. So that was choke. This was throttle. And what we got for... So you pull the key out to shut it off, which is that. And full throttle is that way. Let's see what we get. I'm gonna have to move you over. You know it's gonna light me up. Oh yeah, really good spark. Awesome. What do you say we dribble a little bit of fuel down there real quick? We'll give her a fire up, make sure there's just no knocking noises. It's just straight gas. Give her a little shot right down the center. How many pulls do you think? I'm gonna say the second pull. Last time I tried playing that game, I think it was about 50. Yeah. You see? Let's give you. And I want choke. Choke off. There you go. How about one? We'll go with one. Sounded okay. I don't see any issues with it. I'm not worried about that little puff of smoke. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. So my guess is the carb. Maybe the carb is real nasty and they couldn't get it. And or it could have a drive system problem. Let's well, it looks okay. Let's real quick, we'll set it up on the front of the auger. We'll take a quick look at the transmission gearbox and see if there's anything funky going on with that. Well, I hope there's something wrong with it. It's going to be a boring video. You should be able to stand right up on the auger. There we go. Yeah, I don't see any screw holes in the bottom, so there was never a pan on there. It doesn't have a... It's got a regular gearbox, unless it's inside there. Maybe it's only one speed. And again, it's a fairly simple setup. Pin's good. Well, I say we just go forward with trying to get it running, and we'll see what happens as far as the transmission. You know, possibly there's something wrong. We would have to push. We go set change stand. We're gonna go push that lever in, and we'll try turning the wheels, and we'll see if that has an output going across. Yeah, this is definitely an inexpensive machine, that's for sure. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. Yeah, it's turning. Okay, let's go tear into that carburetor. You get that float bowl popped off. I wonder if they had a kid like me and you took it apart on him when he wasn't looking, and the guy just like shook his head. So I'm buying a new one. I didn't like that machine anyway. And see if we can get something a little smaller. This should just be a drain. And the other one will take the bowl off. Let's see what we get out of it for fuel. Yeah, it's pretty yellow. Yeah. I don't see any water in it. The water will be sitting more towards the bottom too, though. And you'll see, usually you see like a little bubble be floating around in there. That just looks like old gas to me. Let's go get the bolt the rest of the way off. Yeah, I think in our area, power equipment, we're in the Northeast. I'm in the Northeast. Doesn't get used for about 6 months out of the year. So if they don't get, properly drained with fuel every time they go to come out for that season, they're all the carbs usually get gummed up. And some water did come out, very little. I'll show you in a second. That bowl's pretty clean though. Yeah, it's kind of perplexing me a little. Because it sat over there, I don't know, 2 months now, 2 or 3 months on top of it. You can see that see where the drain is on the side of the bowl, and then where the bottom of the bowl is. So the difference in between that, water always goes to the bottom anyway, so that drain doesn't really do much for you because the water will get trapped. And now you can see it, that little gray looking blob in there. That's water. If I let it sit for a while, more of it will join, the puddle will get a little bit bigger. And that water is heavier and kind of thicker than the gas. And there's a little tiny jet up on the side. It can never really suck that up. They're not very good. Bigger engine's not a problem. The hole of the jet is bigger, but this small stuff really seems to have a problem. Let's go take a little mirror. Let's go probe underneath there. We'll take a peek at what that jet looks like. Let's see if this will work for us. Actually, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty clean. I'm gonna go shoot some compressed air up in there, and we'll give that a shot. And what we'll do is I got the gas line pinched off. We'll open that up, we'll let that run a little bit and see if we get some clearer gas coming out. If not, we'll just put some fresh stuff in it. Let's go pop the vice grips off. Should flow, yeah. And that's the float. When the gas gets full, it should shut the fuel off. I really think, my guess right now is they ran it kind of out of gas and then backfilled it with fuel, but the fuel that was in the carburetor was no good. That looks really clean. Maybe during the summertime he was doing like a little maintenance and he put new gas in it and yanked on a bunch of times and tried starting it. But that does not look bad at all compared to the other stuff we took out. Sure hope he finds something wrong with it. I know that sounds dumb, but this is gonna be boring. But we got time yet. So I'm gonna go pop that float bowl back on. We'll turn the gas on. We'll give her a couple of yanks, see if it fires up on the carb. We'll leave the choke off, see if it'll go with the choke off. I think we are all set. Actually, we can hit the primer a couple of times. That might be an issue. Let it run a little bit. Remember I said about a little bit of smoke? That won't be an issue. Yeah, we might have found why they threw it away. Let's go. First of all, I'm going to go turn on the fan and open the door and kind of clean her out a little bit. And let's go look into what is going on with that. I got it's airing out a little bit. Careful what I wish for, right? I was like, there's nothing wrong with it. Let's go make sure that it's not over full of oil. It's hard to say. It's so clean you can't even tell where it is. It looks like it's under full, if anything. The other thing too is somebody put the machine, they put it on its side. The muffler will fill up with oil, and it'll cause it to do that. The other thing I'm thinking of too is possibly it's got a blown head gasket. I don't know if I've really seen that on snowblowers. Usually it's on like lawnmowers and riding tractors. The engines are air cooled. This is the fan that comes in, and mice will build a nest up inside there. The airflow won't be going across, and then it takes it overheats and it takes out the head gasket. There's definitely a lot of just raw oil sitting around the muffler. Maybe we'll fire it up again. We'll let it run a little bit and see what it does, see if it settles down at all. The other thing too, there's a breather coming from the valve cover, and if it gets a blown head gasket, it pressurizes the, I want to call it the crankcase, and blow-by normally it's just sucked back through the carburetor, but if it gets overwhelmingly large, it can sometimes push oil through that breather. So real quick, let's go take the end of the air cleaner off, and we'll take a look. We'll see if there's a bunch of oil up inside here. If we see oil up inside here, then we definitely know that was part of the issue, or somebody let the snowblower on its side and this area filled up with oil and it kind of went down into the carburetor. Let's go find out. I'm glad at least you found something. It's gonna be a boring video. We could just basically drain a little bit of gas out and fire it up. Come on, get on there. I gotta get a tool for getting the hose off. And no, it looks pretty wet. You can see that. It definitely looks like oil's been sitting right inside the carb. Well, that's looking pretty dry. Guys, probably asking yourself, why is there no air cleaner? Snowblowers do not use air cleaners because they're used in such a clean environment. There's really no dust, and the water that they would suck up would definitely cause a problem with getting the air cleaner choked off, so they don't bother around it. They just run the water right through whatever mist gets kicked up in the air. Yeah, it's got some. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but there is definitely oil. What about in the tube itself? Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna go put the hardware back on the carb. We'll fire it back up with that off of there. Let's try it again. Put the key back in it. Running on the choke right now. Hunting a lot too. Let it run. Do a little function test on it. I gotta put a clamp on it. Looks alright. A little growly. automatic gearbox. Just doing a lot of hunting. I want to see if it'll idle. It won't idle. So it doesn't have an idle circuit. That's probably a part of what is causing it to run like crap. So I think a few things were going on. I think one was somebody kind of put it on its side and all the oil ran to the side of it and caused that smoking issue. Why they threw it out, I do not know. But it's also running lean, and lean means not enough gas. That's what that hunting is. On this carburetor, I've said this before, so there's a main circuit, which is like when you're on the RPMs and you're up there, that's the main circuit, and then it has an idle circuit. And when I put it to idle, which was that right there, it kind of should have idled. It should just sat there and just chugged right along. Instead, it died right out. So there's no fuel coming from the idle circuit. And the idle circuit is also part of the main. It's not like you come off of idle, it's not doing anything. It's kind of like a mix. So say like 10% is from the idle circuit and 90% is from the main circuit. Well, if this 10% is blocked off and you're only getting the 90 from the main, it's still too much air. It makes it run too lean. So I have a feeling that's what's going on. We have no idle circuit. So let's get that carburetor off of there. Kind of was suspected with being a fuel issue. That smoke was fun though. I thought we were going to get in and take the cylinder head off, but maybe not. Let's get the carb off of there and see if we can fix it. Okay, who was the engineer? Really? Sometimes I tell you, I just don't quite take things into consideration, right? I'm gonna take the bowl off. I should have enough room after I get the bowl off. Yeah, no water in it, still looks good. Sometimes water will do that to you too. Water can actually almost mimic that a little bit. You got enough to get it now? Come on. It's like right there. There we go. All right, let's go pop her over on the bench, take a peek at her. Got her over on the bench. It's got to be one of the cleanest carbs I've ever taken apart that actually had an issue. Let's get the float off of it. Yeah, needle's fine. The main, we know the main's working. It could probably be a little bit dirty. That's the one that's going to be right up in the center here. We'll pull that out in a second, but what I wanted to show is the idle part of it, which is, so this plastic screw right here is your idle speed. And you can see at idle, that tab on the throttle plate will go up against there and you turn this in and out for your idle speed. Underneath there, right here, is the idle part of the idle circuit. And it's kind of, I'm going to call it the jet. There's a passage underneath here that my guess is what is clogged, and also it looks like it had an adjustment right here, and that is broken off. The tab's broken off, so you can't do anything with it. A lot of times what you have is like a funky screwdriver to keep people out of there. The idea is they don't want people messing with them for emissions. I have a tendency to disagree with it in the fact that, first of all, they went with ethanol fuel. Ethanol fuel causes the carbs to gum up. When the carbs gum up, people have a tendency to try to keep them running. So the carb runs up, it runs lean, meaning enough fuel. So the way to overcome that is you take your choke and you click your choke on a little bit and you start running it with the choke. And when you cut off the air supply, the air's coming in through here, you're sucking up more fuel from the center. Well, that's much more non-emission friendly, probably the best way to put it, than actually just having it so where you can mix it, and then as things get a little slightly contaminated, you can kind of tweak them in and out and get them to run a little bit better. But I guess that's the way government runs, right? All right, so we want to fix this. Let's go get the main jet out of it, and then I do not have that letter D looking setup in the center there. I'll come up with something, maybe even just a big screwdriver. We'll be able to turn this out so we can get the other one out. That's why a lot of the small engine stuff is going to fuel injection now. Bikes too. So the way this sucks up the fuel is through that little hole right there. Sometimes the older ones, it was much lower. And the idea is when that water is sitting in the carburetor like that, it won't pick it up. It'll actually kind of give a little bit of space for that to happen. There we go. There's the jet and the emulsion tube. That looks really clean. And I'm looking through that for the daylight. That looks really clean too. And of course the compressor decides to kick on, so hold on one second. All right, where were we? So we're going to try to get that out of there. And there's about 2 or 3 threads out. I'm going to set it up anyway. Once I get it running, I'll just run that out till I get a good idle. And this isn't threaded in. It should just pull straight up. And it would be that little port down there that is clogged. I'm going to go look underneath the light real quick. And sometimes you could shine a light behind them. But this style is different because it only goes, it's not going straight through the center. It's going through these holes and up out of there. So that may be clogged. And also what I'm thinking now, I wonder if the oil contaminated that, like how thick the oil is, may have clogged it and it couldn't get anything through that port because again, it's just so tiny. And this carb is really clean. Yeah, my guess right now is that they went and maybe tipped it on its side or stored it on its side in the garage, is my guess. So I'm going to go blow out all these passages and we'll put it back together and we'll see what we get. One thing I do want to kind of add though, so say if you have your typical Tecumseh 8-horse 24-inch cut, which is, I'd say 70% of the snowblowers out there run that engine. And if you're trying to run it, and you have to, it's safe at idles, but you still have to go run the choke on a click or two for it to actually kind of run halfway decent. It's running a little too lean, and what you would do is there's an orifice inside there that meters how much fuel goes in. You want to open that up a hair. They make little drill bits for it, for jets. A lot of people also use like not piano wire, like guitar string wire and things like that can kind of go fit down inside there. We're not going to go do that yet because we want to go see what caused the problem. So just by cleaning it, we'll see if it goes away. I can't really get that adjustment out of there. If we have to, we'll take a little cutting wheel, we'll put a slice across it, and then we'll be able to take it out like a screw. But I want to see if it'll come back first before we do that. It's more of exploratory why this thing was thrown out. So let me get to cleaning. All the other ones that you can kind of see through. And I know we blew air through this one, but I'm going to try taking some carb clean. And it may splatter all around, but what I'm trying to see if I get it coming out of this passage. Watch your eyes. Yeah. I can literally see it bubbling up through there. So I know that passage is open. Just a good way to test it. And again, that just pops down inside there. And then the other one holds it in place. I think you get the idea how it goes back together, right? There's really not that much to it. And we're in there about a couple of threads past just to hold the throttle from going all the way closed. We'll give her a little extra. And I got one screwdriver, put the sides ground down on it. I'm just going to blow through the fuel intake, make sure it shuts off. I'm going to let it hang down. Choke there. And I can blow through it. All right, I'm going to go wipe my fingerprints off of that, get that wiggled up back in there, and then put the float ball on it. We'll try it again, see what we get. If it doesn't work, then we're going to do some modifications. Let's go try it again. That should be full throttle. And let's give her a couple of primer. I should have probably talked about how that primer works. I will in a minute. See if it fixes it. You have to give it a second to warm up the operating temperature. Let's see if it'll idle. Now it'll idle. The idle circuit's working. I want to say it was the oil. See if it'll putt. All right, let's let it warm up. Much better. A little bit of a load on it. That's got it. I don't know if this has a cutoff or not all the way down. Sometimes there's a ground that'll ground it out to shut it off. I'm gonna bring that idle up just a little bit. Yeah, right about there. That sounds good. Choking it with my fingers a little. You see how it runs pretty decent? When I give it a little bit of choke, it kind of calms down. It stops doing that bouncing a little bit. That's what I was talking about with it running lean. Let's go take the carb back apart again one more time. We're gonna go take that main jet. We're just gonna open it up just a little bit, get it a little bit richer. It's just off a little. And I think we can probably just get it to run a little nicer than, that's probably how it was running from the factory too. And like I said, it's a lost cause because what people do is they click a little bit of the choke on it. They try running it like that. And it just causes the emissions to actually be worse than if it was just a little bit more in tune. All the old carburetors were adjustable. You just had a needle on the bottom and you just kind of tweaked into it. You got that right window. Plus the weather kind of changes it a little bit too and your altitude. But we're at sea level pretty much right here. So it's about the best you're going to get as far as lean. Let's back apart again. And here's that little main jet I was talking about. And these are drill index sets. This is a larger one, and this one goes down even much finer. So I'm going to go take the smallest one here first of all and see if that'll even fit through there without forcing it. Yes, that one fits no problem. So we're going to be able to go up and find one that doesn't fit. I'll watch it, I'll jam it into my finger. They got numbers on them. And sometimes it's written on the jet too. You can actually see a number on them. That's a 76. And I'm going to find one that just makes it. And then we're going to go to the next one. That one is, seems like it's just about there. We're getting close. That one's got no number on it. Nice though. Just keeps going, right? Make sure I put him back with the number up so I can see it. Okay, so 67 doesn't make it. I'm going to zoom in and try to find the one that does just make it. We're close. That one just doesn't make it. I think 69 was the one that went through. Yeah, so 69 makes it. We're just going to open it up just a little bit. It's 68. You don't want to go too far. There is a fix. You can fix them other than getting a new jet. You can go and solder them up and then re-drill it again. It's not that picky, even if it's not a straight line. It's not. Some people will tell you it's got to be, you know, dead center. It doesn't. You're metering how much fuel goes up in the center of the hole, whether it's jagged or not. You get the right amount of fuel going through. That's it. I don't think you need to see me struggle with this case, right? So I'm going to go put that back and blow air through it. We'll put it back in and see if that made any kind of improvement without changing anything else. Oh, and while I have it off, so when the float bowl is on there, kind of a sealed chamber. It is vented. There is a vent to the float bowl other than the needle and seat. But when you hit that little button on the side, when I was hitting the primer button, that shoots an air pulse down here. It kind of pressurizes the float bowl. It gives a little bit more pressure into the float bowl, and it causes fuel, just raw fuel, to shoot right up the center of this assembly that's in here. It just gives a quick little shot of fuel, and it literally just puts raw fuel up inside the center of the carb, and then it just gets drawn in just for a little bit of a quick start. That's how that works. If your gasket's gone on the bottom, some other issues can kind of cause it too, but that's what it's there for. All right, see if we're getting improvement on it this time. Let's give her a couple of primer shots. Full throttle. Let it warm up a minute. Let it warm up a second. I can turn the fan on, I'll bring you right back, and we'll see if we can get it to run without the choke on. can even hear it. It sounds better. Oh. I went too far. I went against the, I went to the stop where the ground is. Let me fire it back up again, and we'll bring it down to an idle and rev it up again. It's off choke now, and it's running much better. I think I'm going to go one more size up. You can still see when I put the choke on, it's running a little bit better. When you go too far, you'll hear it. It'll start doing that popping kind of sound, and that's too much fuel. It's running too rich. So I'm going to go one more size up, and we'll try one more time. And then we'll just kind of leave it alone from there. Let's play it again. Just run a second. I'm gonna take that for the win. I don't want to go any much more than that, because I don't feel like soldering it up and doing a back step on it. But the guy's got it as far as that's concerned. We can give a little bit of love to the rest of the machine though. The tires are flat. I think they have tubes in them. Hopefully they hold there. Let's start chasing some of that little stuff, and we get to shoot and all that kind of stuff back on it too. Hopefully those valve stems are good too. It looks like they probably used it. It was like this before we played with it on the bench. You can see how the valve stem is kind of cocked on an angle. So the rim was trying to drive and the tire was staying still, where they dragged it with the tires and it caused the stem to go kind of on an angle. So I'm going to try to probably take the rest of the air out if there's any air in it. And then try to get that tire to walk back a little bit, get the stem straight out. Hopefully it's not torn. They don't get much. 5-10 psi. I'm probably over already right now. I'm gonna let them set up a little bit, see if they stay hard. I don't think this thing has many hours in it at all, maybe 1 or 2 seasons. Just gonna take a quick look at those belts. I'm just looking for cracking, and I'm also looking for tension on it. So this one, of course, is not gonna have any tension on it until you pull the lever, and that's the one that's running the auger, and it has a lever that does so. And I pull the lever up top, so it's touching right there, and then all that is spring, so all that is preload on there, and that's more than enough. Somewhere on that cable it'll have a spring. It's down below, and you can see even in the crack there, if you could see it, that spring right down in there. So that just kind of maintains tension on it. Sometimes you'll have an adjustment. Yeah, that one does, where you can slide it. If the belt starts getting a little worn, you can adjust the idler pulley on it. And the other one is tension all the time. It's already preloaded, which seems pretty good. And again, that's inside the gearbox with the lever, and we already looked at that. I say we throw the chute. We can put this cover on, and we'll go look at putting that chute on there. I don't know why they took that apart. One guess, oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. One thing I was guessing on is maybe they didn't have much storage space because the handles were loose. So I wonder if somebody had the handles folded over and they kind of like shoved it in a corner, maybe even put it on its side. Maybe that's why all the oil got in there. It's kind of weird that, like, even this side is loose too. People do it with lawnmowers also. It's not good for the cables. It did seem like it's a really large house that it was at, but that's my guess, is it was folded up, pushed in a corner, maybe underneath a workbench or something. Somebody folded it, tucked it, maybe even back on its side or up on its front, and the oil got up inside here and contaminated it. He brought it out, maybe fired it up and tried getting it running, and it was smoking like a pig, and he just said, that's it, I'm done. I'm getting a bigger machine, and tossed this one to the curb. And maybe that's why this is off also, just to make a little bit more room, a little tinier package where it's not, you know, sticking out all up like that. All right, I'm gonna get some covers on, and then we'll put that on. Everything went back together pretty good. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in it because I think we're a tad low. I wonder why. And there they are. I had a couple bolts left over. Like, where do they go? Right there. Why would they take those out though? What was the point of doing that? All right, explained. Hey, when you have extra hardware. Looks pretty good though. It's a plain machine. It's no electric start, no speed control, no reverse. It's just gas and go. These are good for like doing your sidewalks. You don't have a ton of snow, or you don't get that much snow. This is something that you would use. Or if the person is, how do I put this? Physically challenged, we'll go with that. If you're a smaller person or elderly or something, some of the big machines are really hard to muscle around. I think this would probably be fairly easy. You would think it would have electric start though, for that part of it too. But I think she's good to go. I'm gonna go throw these back in. Depending on what surface it would get used on, I would drop the shoes down. So if you're on good, clean pavement, you're gonna let the scraper on the bottom go right down to the pavement. But if you have a little bit of gravel or your uneven surfaces or your pavement's falling apart, you're going to take these and drop them down and leave about a ½ inch behind. Neat. That worked out pretty good. I'm going to go throw those in. I think that's got it. She's a winner. Not a great machine, like I said, it's very minimalist of a snowblower. But again, hey, it's on the side of the road for free and not needing much love. I'm happy with it. It's probably worth about if I'd sell it open market, 150 bucks maybe. Yeah, it's clean. I think it's only got maybe 1 or 2 seasons on it. Too bad it didn't need a blown head gasket. That would have been fun to tear into. But I don't get to choose what their ailments are, right? We just kind of drag them home and see what they got and what it takes to fix them. Again, I don't know quite why all that plastic was taken off of it. I could see trying to get to the carburetor maybe to fix something or for the smoke, but why the chute and everything was starting to get taken off, that I don't know. So you are welcome to leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think happened to it, what the problem was, or why they did what they did. It's all speculation, right? All right, guys, with that, I'm going to go sign off. Thank you all for hanging out with me, wrenching. I got some other big projects I'm working on. I kind of want to wait till they're more filmed and done instead of filming one and not having it quite done because parts are an issue. So something I would think that is going to come in a couple of days. Takes 2 weeks to come in, and I don't want to put a video up and then not have the following one for it. Parts and pieces are poking around. There's a little bit of something on the floor as a teaser, and there's some really big stuff coming too. With that, I'll sign off, and you can even guess on what those are if you like. All right, guys, I'm done. I'll see you. Take care.